Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
What do you mean there's extraterrestrials in the trees?
All the trees are infected.
What do you mean the trees are infected?
Hello and welcome to the Monday Movie Show, take 2. Yep, if you've just listened to us live, you would realise I made a bit of a mistake. I forgot to do something using the jiggery pokery wiry thingies. That's a technical term, by the way. That we used to beam the show out live, and nobody could hear the person who was stepping in for Andrew, and that's Stuart.
Exactly. So, not the first time I've talked and nobody's actually heard the words coming out of my mouth, but at least time we can blame the jiggery pokery wiry things this time.
Yes, we are live, which is the reason why there was a mistake, on the 18th of May 2015 at 8:05. So just a couple of minutes past 8 o'clock. And before we get into anything, it's your birthday.
It is. Not you, the listener. Well, it might be. I don't know. But no, it is. Yep. In 1971, I was born. So, yep, many, many moons ago. Yeah, feels weird. So today I went out and watched a movie, had some food, got a couple of prezzies, launched a fundraiser. So anybody who follows me on Twitter, go down and nosy at that one. I launched at about 6 o'clock. But I'm not going to take over the airwaves with an advert. But yeah,
no, by all means, divulge what it is.
I shall do it quick. Basically, I want to raise money for camera equipment so that I can start producing my own content. I have got several filmmakers and actors who are lined up to let me do feature-length interviews with them. I am attending Comic-Cons later on in the year. I want to film everything. I also want to start investigating doing small films. And the target, did you know Indiegogo actually have a minimum that you're allowed to start a fundraiser from?
Really?
I didn't know that. My entire fund, it should be £432. I've actually worked out every bit of equipment that I need. But the minimum, it's 500. So I've set it at 500. It's going to run till July the 17th. So you've got 60 days to do it. And I've pinned a tweet to the top of my Twitter profile picture. So anybody wants to have a nosy. It does go quite in depth. All the photos on the Indiegogo page, I took myself. So I've put like a variety of photos and videos and stuff like that. And yeah, should be fun. I hate fundraising. I'm not a fan of it at all. It's very, very nerve-wracking. And also, Cups and Monsters have got 2 weeks left on theirs, and they've raised £891. So yeah, it seems to be just fundraising heaven for them at the minute, and mine started today. So there you go. I thought I'd give myself a little birthday present and put myself through 60 days of stress.
And where can people find information?
People can find information, just go onto Twitter from page to screen. That's the number 2, not the word 2. And it is a pinned tweet at the very top of my profile. So if you click on it between now and July 17th, you will see that tweet there. That tweet has the link for the Indiegogo page embedded on it, and you'll get all the information there.
And you can check out the Monday Movie Show's Twitter feed at Monday Movie Show. You can also email us during the show if you want to, but there's nobody actually manning the emails. So you can email us anytime, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, or facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. And there is the website, which is mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Coming up on this week's show, you thought I actually left that out. I nearly did, and I just realised I looked down at my notes and thought, there is something we're supposed to do on a movie review show. That's
review movies.
Films. Yeah, exactly. So in the cinema section, we're looking at these couple of films.
Pitch Perfect 2. Which I haven't seen, I'm not a musical fan, and Mad Max Fury Road, which I did run out today and watch because I knew you were going to be talking about it on the podcast, and I did on the show, and I did not want any plot spoilers, so I thought I need to watch this film. I've waited 30 years to watch a Mad Max film, so that I watched today. Home releases, we have Into the Woods, Foxcatcher, A Most Violent Year, and The Man with the Iron Fist 2.
Yep, but on top of that, we have the TV movies of the week. and also the Blu-ray DVD top 10, the UK box office top 10. But as we normally do, kick things off with movie news. I'm the one who's collated all the movie news here. A couple of biggish style stories, and then just a few little bullet point ones to quickly go over. But first piece of news, Dwayne Johnson has confirmed that he will be back to play Hobbs in the next Fast and Furious film, which is set for an April 14th, 2017 release. He's also confirmed there might be a chance there could be a Hobbs spin-off.
What do you think about that? I like Hobbs. I think The Rock in pretty much any film is really, really good, although I'm not sure about San Andreas. But do you think you need a Hobbs standalone movie, or is he good enough in the Fast movies?
It's probably the Annabelle effect, isn't it? With the Annabelle spin-off from The Conjuring. That the Hobbs character in the last Fast and Furious film probably's had around about 10 minutes maximum screen time, so his character wasn't out there that much. He had more screen time in the previous film, Fast 6. So I'm not sure if his character is strong enough to hold a film of its own. I know he can do brilliant work, The Rock, Dwayne Rock Johnson, and he can flesh out boring characters or very mundane characters. Probably his case in point is going to be San Andreas, by the looks of things. So he's able to actually do that. I'm not sure though a Hobbs character. How different would it be?
It wouldn't. It'd be like a lot of the other Dwayne Johnson films out there, which are good, but I don't need another one of those.
Yeah, because he's a police officer in the Fast and Furious films who's sort of like helping Vin Diesel and his crew out. So he changed his tact. So it'd just be another one of those police things.
And it would be yet another shared universe that we don't need.
Too many of them as well. We're getting numerous amounts of those kind of universes, and it's just going to make our heads explode very much like scanners.
Well, does that mean our shows are actually shared universe? Because you appear on the horror show, I'm appearing in this one now and again. So technically, we are a part of this shared universe.
Yeah, well, I'm actually got my foot in multiple universes. I've got a triangular kind of universe. I'm part of a Bermuda Triangle universe. From Page to Screen, horror podcast. Every now and again, I'll join you on a special episode of that. I have my own show, which is this one here, and I also do Following the Nerds. So, yeah, I'm a part of too many.
You are the Nick Fury of the movie review shows, aren't you? You just pop up. You're there and everywhere.
Yeah, I've only got 6 more appearances left, and then my contract's up, so I need renewing. I demand more money or more Skittles.
Just get Robert Downey Jr. to renegotiate your contract. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope, like I said, I hope Skittles are involved in the next contract negotiation. Simon Pegg has let slip a bit of a spoiler when it comes to Star Wars Episode 7. So if you're not interested in hearing a little bit of a spoiler about Star Wars Episode 7, put your fingers in your ears and go la 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 for the next 30 seconds. You ready?
Yep.
Daniel Craig is in the film, and that he will be playing a stormtrooper.
Do you actually believe that? I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. But then again, you never know, do you? I think if he's in it, I don't think you're going to know he's in it. He's not going to take his helmet off.
We'll just see, because it's interesting, to say the least, if Daniel Craig is in Star Wars. Again, it's that shared universe thing, Bond in Star Wars. So are we going to see Yoda in Bond? He's going to be the next bad guy. Frankly, Mr. Bond, I was expecting you. Stroking like a little Wookiee or something.
He'll be stroking like a little Salacious Crumb. That's what he'll be doing.
Yeah. I actually want to see that now, to be honest. It might entertain a Bond film for me, because I'm not a fan of them, so it might just make it a bit more interesting.
Casino Mos Eisley. That's what I'm copywriting that title right now.
Well, is Simon Pegg in Star Wars?
No, but he's sort of friends with JJ, isn't he? Because they're pally after the Mission Impossible things. But yeah, who knows?
You would have thought that Simon Pegg would be much more busy and more interested in Star Trek, seeing he's writing it.
Exactly, and you would hope that Daniel Craig's busy limping around doing Bond.
Yeah. So unless it's like just a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. But how would you know it's Daniel Craig? It's a stormtrooper. They never take off their helmets.
No, just watch for the one. Watch for the one with a limp, or the one running up and down a train or whatever. That'll be him.
Or the one who ends up smacking his head into a door.
Yes, exactly. That'll be Daniel.
Yep, but that might just be him. He just wants to recreate an iconic scene, so you just see him smack his head into the door, fall down, and the helmet actually falls off, and you see it's Daniel Craig.
And everybody go, that's not a real stormtrooper. He's got blonde hair.
Yeah, he's an imposter. 20th Century Fox has revealed the title for the next Planet of the Apes film. The film will be called War of the Planet of the Apes.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly. Silence.
Yep, you're like, alright.
Yeah, we expected this. There was a war at the end of the last film. Slight spoiler there. Well, actually, It's not very much of a spoiler if you've seen the previous film. It's just an entirety of a war between the humans and the apes. That's how it's been building up to. But War of the Planet of the Apes. Do you think that they've actually run out of titles because there's so many of them?
Well, I would have called it Planet of the Apes Go Ape, but then it sounds a bit too much like a theme park, so I'll let them off with the War of the Apes. But there's loads of them.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes goes bananas.
Exactly. Go for that one.
I think that's the mock kind of thing, the scary movie-esque Planet of the Apes.
I think it is.
Yeah,
Apes go bananas.
Must not give that idea out there a scary movie style the Apes film, because they'll end up doing that, the Wayans brothers. Little bits of news. Kevin Bacon has indicated that he would love...
Monkey Business.
Yeah. Kevin Bacon has indicated that he would love a role in the Tremors remake.
Oh, didn't he say he wasn't going to do that at one point, like a year ago? But now he's turned around and said he would.
Well, isn't he no longer involved with the EA adverts, saying that they've actually lost their Orange Wednesdays thing, so he doesn't no longer have to do that properly. So he needs work.
Maybe he's busy on the following. Oh no, hang on, that's been cancelled. So yeah, that's probably why he's joining the Tremors bandwagon. Nice
bit of a dig there, but yeah, it's probably he's just looking at it and thought, yeah, this film's not going to work without me. Kate Beckinsale has revealed that she will reprise her role as Selene in the next Underworld film, titled Underworld Next Generation. I am not joking you there. It is called Underworld Next Generation.
You should have called it War of the Underworld. Just join this trend. I mean, have you seen all the Underworld films? I've seen the first three. I haven't bothered watching 4. Are you excited about an Underworld 5?
God, no. Because I hated Rise of the Lycans. Rise of the Lycans is a horrible film. Underworld Awakening is not very good at all. It's slightly better than Rise of the Lycans, but Underworld Next Generation. Next one after that is called Underworld Voyager.
It is, and then Underworld Enterprise.
Yeah, I left out Deep Space Nine because nobody likes Deep Space Nine. I don't. Anymore.
I love Deep Space Nine. I was having this conversation the other day, which is the best Star Trek, and I am torn between Next Gen and DS9. I think DS9 gets it just by a nose.
Voyager, because it was brave enough to have a female captain.
True. Originally, Patsy Kensit. Didn't know whether you knew that one or not. But yeah, she was the original captain, and then it was another woman called Genevieve something or other, the woman at Dead Ringers, and then it was Kate Mulgrew. So
I'm glad they went with the latter. Can't see anybody else now playing a female captain in the Star Trek universe.
No,
to be honest.
So Kevin Bacon maybe play the role.
Yeah, a female captain.
Yeah, he can grow his hair. He is that good an actor.
Yep, the Hollywood Reporter has confirmed that the 1996 cult horror film The Craft is set for a remake.
Wow. I saw this news story and I thought of you. I could either imagine you going, meh, or will they never stop?
Yeah, I think Lauren, who does the horror show with us, I think she's in complete agreement with me, and at least I know somebody else who's in complete agreement with me, is a why. And Fairuza Balk, who was in the original one, she's even indicated as a why. What's the point of remaking The Craft? It's not like an exceptional film. It's got some very smart ideas, and I really like it because it was a very female-empowered film, released around a male-centric genre kind of thing. And normally the females in these kind of movies are the ones who get killed. So having a movie which centres around a coven of witches, but brought to the modern day, well, the 1996 modern day, was an interesting thing to do. We don't need a remake of it.
We don't. But then again, half these remakes we don't need. Do we really need a remake of The Howling? There's another one. Yes.
We're seeing what happened with the remake of The Thing, the Matthias von Heijingen Jr. one. Yeah. Exactly. It just gives me a chance to say his name.
I'm always really impressed when you rattle off these names that half the time I think you make it up. But I am suitably impressed with your memory skills.
It's just, I don't know why, but his name is stuck into my head. I don't think he's directed another film after The Thing, but having a name called Matthias von Heijingen Jr., it's a bit of a tongue-tire, but it gets stuck in your head. Final piece of news is Sony has announced that the Ratchet & Clank film is being delayed until early 2016, along with the reboot game.
Well, the game I would like to see come out, but the film, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, it's got an interesting cast. John Goodman is going to be playing the voice of a character in the film, as that was revealed during the week. But I'm like you. I hope Sony show off the video game at their E3 press conference next month, which they probably will. I know this is not like a video game thing, but I'm actually next month delaying the show by a day so I can watch the E3 press conferences. So they take precedent over my own show. It's only once a year, so at least I'm allowed a reason to delay the show. But because I'm a big, huge, massive video gamer, I've just started to get myself back into them and start to play them again. And I love the Ratchet & Clank series. And so I love good old-fashioned platform adventure games.
Yep.
I love those kind of things. And so Ratchet & Clank, Jak and Daxter, those kind of things. So if it's got the humour of the film, it's got the humour of like the Lego movie or something like that, I'm all up for it. Because the game has got that kind of humour. It's got that quirky, interesting, sort of like just on the cusp of adult humour, but suitable for children as well. And
now you're going to have to wait a couple of years to find out whether it's...
Yeah, as long as it's actually done well. As long as the delay was worth it rather than the delay not worth it, i.e. the Old Boy remake. Where the delay, that was just getting delayed and delayed and delayed. When it got released, it was terrible. Or, for instance, The Crow, the reboot of The Crow, when that happens. I've got a bad feeling about that film because it's just been through so many hands that it's probably going to turn out to be a mess.
I hope it never happens. Just leave The Crow alone and go back and watch the 90s original. That's all you need to do.
I'm in complete agreement with you, but it's Hollywood. So at least it's sort of like... It's not like a new property, but it's a new property when it comes to films. For example, a film that we'll be looking at next week, Tomorrowland, that's a new IP for Disney to work on film-wise, instead of releasing another film in the Marvel Universe, or now because they've got the Star Wars license, releasing Star Wars Episode 7, and films like that. It's nice to see the bigger companies tackle a new IP, just to see how they handle. So, I'm eager for it. I'm all for that.
Okay.
Right, UK box office top 10.
Yes. At number 10, we have 2x2, which to me makes it sound like it should be about Noah's Ark, but I'm guessing it isn't.
Which it is about Noah's Ark.
It is about Noah's Ark. Yeah. There we go.
Andy's in the live chat.
Hi, Andy.
So it's nice to actually see him in the live chat. I will ask the question here. Will he be joining me on next week's show? And he'll probably not tell me. But it's about two animals who get abandoned off an ark. The ark run by Noah. They get abandoned. They need to try and find a way of getting back to the ark. It's a bit of a messy film because it is one of those stitched together movies where it's 4 or 5 different countries, the film councils in each one of the countries banding together to try and make sort of like a Eurocentric movie. And so it feels on that front. The last time I saw a film where it was okay on that kind of movie front is House of Magic, which is the one about the cat and the magician. That wasn't too bad. And the next movie we get is The Moomins, which is out on Friday, which it's been getting interesting reviews, let's just see.
It's The Moomins, therefore it's got to be watchable at least once.
Yeah, I like The Moomins as a kid, but how much am I going to like The Moomins sitting in an audience full of kids and me being the only adult there without a kid?
Yeah,
Gonna have to borrow one.
You're going to fit, yeah. That's kind of risky to do nowadays, is borrowing children.
I'd just try to persuade a friend who's got a child and just say, can you come along with me so it looks like we're just taking them out for the day or something?
That works. Yep. I want to take them to see a film that's probably not going to be very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Number 9, live-action Cinderella.
It's a lazy film. I've said this multiple times. Kenneth Branagh is the director of it, and I can understand where he was coming from. He was trying to go back to the heart of the Cinderella sort of like story, give a retelling of the original story, but it's been done multiple times before better because the fact that they change enough of the film to make it feel fresh. This one, they don't do enough to it.
Okay. And one of the things I was going to do on my podcast over the next 60 days of my fundraiser, right, and there's this will tangent in, is to share a memory every day for the next 60 days. Cinderella was the first ever acting role I ever did. I was a 12-year-old kid and I played the fairy godmother's nephew, Timothy. I did something like 29 performances on a really big stage. I got paid £83 in total. So there you go. Number 8, we have the film Home.
Have you played from Home? Or one of the main aliens from Home then? Being in the stage player of Home.
I'm afraid not. No, my only stage thing ever was Cinderella.
So you left it all in charge of Sheldon Cooper.
I did indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the voice of the lead, the alien in Home. It's okay. I've said this multiple weeks now. It's okay. It's stayed a very long time in the top 10. Too long actually. It's done brilliantly for itself, past the £20 million mark, and nobody would have thought that, considering the reviews that it got. So well done to it. DreamWorks might have to look at it and do a lot with the property if they want to try and make it more critically better. But it seems to be resonating with a lot of children, and I think that's the main goal for me, rather than make critics happy. You need to make your audience happy.
You do, because they're the one paying the money.
Yeah.
Number 7, we have Big Game, which Fraser from Cops and Monsters phoned me up last week. He said, I'm going to go to the cinema and I'm going to watch Big Game. I went, why are you not going to watch Mad Max? He went, I'm going to watch that later on in the week. I don't understand why you watch Big Game over Mad Max. But Big Game, what are your thoughts on that one?
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. The director of Big Game did a really good Christmas movie called Rare Exports, which I really did like. This one, I didn't. It's Samuel L. Jackson playing the president in Air Force One, which gets shot down, and he has to get the help from a boy who's sort of like, he's just turned 12, and his village puts them on a pilgrimage for 24 hours where they've got to spend the time out in the wild and bring back a trophy. And they get chased by these guys who are trophy hunters, who want the president for a trophy. Want to stuff him, actually. So it's something you don't want to do to the president. But yeah, the film itself is just bad because it doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know whether it wants to be a straightforward action film, or if it wants to be a comedy action movie, or if it just tries to have its eggs in all the baskets, all of its eggs in one basket, when it just feels, it just doesn't, it's not entertaining enough, and it's not action orientated enough.
Unlike number 6, which is pretty much really, really entertaining and has pretty much the most action I've seen in a film, other than the one I went to see today, Fast and Furious 7.
Yeah, entertaining film. It was going to be a really hard film to tackle anyway because of what happened. But yeah, it's not brilliant because it has a problem with its structure because there's too many characters to handle. But it's still a feeding end to one of the main actors of the film. And in the 8th one, it's already been announced that Paul Walker, who is the actor who passed away during the filming of it, one of his brothers is going to be playing one of the characters, a proper character, in the next Fast and Furious film in Fast 8. So my guess is you'll find out that Paul Walker's character in the film had a brother, and he's the one who's taking over his role in it, which is an interesting way to do it.
I was getting really worried there that you were going to say the brother was going to be playing Brian. I'm like, no, don't go down that route, but thankfully.
No, they're not doing that, thankfully.
Oof. Number 5, which is not a Marvel spin-off, it's The Age of Adeline.
Now, I haven't seen this film. The premise interests me. It's about a 27-year-old woman who an incident happens to her where she cannot age. And so the movie then fast forwards to when she's 107. And so she has not changed. She constantly stays the age of 27. And so it follows her through her life. About when she gets up to this age here. It's got Harrison Ford in it as well. It looks an interesting premise. Critics seem to be split by it. Some critics have been saying that it is a really well-made film, whereas a lot of critics have been saying it's complete not a tosh. So I'm eager when you get the split like that, where you don't get critics just being down the middle. You get them on either side of the fence, and so it makes you wonder what the film is actually like. So I'm going to try and watch this before next week's show, even though I've got a ton of films to watch.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. You know, the workload on poor Stu's desk, all these films he's got to watch.
Yeah, at least he's got a review in the chat there for one of the films coming up, which I've not seen.
Fantastic. Yay. Number 4, Unfriended, one of those rare films that you really liked, which is good.
Yeah, it's surprising that a rare film that I really liked. It sort of like increased the average score of my lists over the last 2 months, to be honest. However, one film that I will be getting on to a little bit later on has gone and absolutely spoiled that. But yeah, I like the premise of Unfriended, using modern day technology in this form, Skype and Facebook and the internet, but actually done properly, because it is somebody who's searching through Facebook rather than a facsimile of Facebook. It is them using Skype rather than using a mock-up version of Skype, and so it makes the film feel more real world, like it's more grounded. When the fantastical element added to it, because it is a horror movie and so there has to have a spooky element to it, that's never fully explained. And I like films which attempt that as well, because it makes them more braver. At least they're trying to do something a bit different. I hated the audience I saw the film with. I liked the film, hated the audience.
And that podcast we did with the cinema, the Odeon in Leicester Square, are listening to that. So, you know, we're doing quite well with the cinema one. That's 2 cinema chains that have now listened to that podcast.
And now I just need my cinema chain to listen to the podcast. And so, 1, they can actually follow suit and mend their ways. And 2, give me free tickets so I'm not pulling out a lot of money every single week.
Exactly. I've been trying that same stunt, trying to get hold of the marketing people at Cineworld, to no avail as yet. But never mind. Number 3, the latest in the remakes, Far From the Madding Crowd.
Yeah, it's just if you know the story of Far From the Madding Crowd, nothing very much has changed in this one. We've had a deluge of movies where it's set in the war-torn areas and very straightforward dramas. There are better ones out there. There is one which we'll be reviewing in a couple of weeks' time called Testament of Youth, which I really did like. So it's just a very straightforward film.
Number 2, a film that I really want to watch this one. If Mad Max wasn't out, I would have gone to see this today. Spooks, The Greater Good, the big screen adaptation of the TV show that ran for about 10 years.
Yeah,
you haven't seen it, have you?
I have not, because I've never seen a single episode of the TV series Spooks. Whereas Andrew, who would have had a review of the film on the show last week, he's left this in the live chat. When you get to Spooks, The Greater Good, it's a decent follow-up to the series, which you don't have to see to enjoy, but struggles to quite fill up the big screen and take advantage of the cinematic opportunity.
Okay.
And he's also seen Far From the Madding Crowd as well, and he's saying he quite enjoyed Far From the Madding Crowd. So if you like that kind of story, I'm guessing that's the case. And the same with Spooks. My guess is you're going to get much more enjoyment out the film itself if you're a fan of the TV series. Whereas I think that's the thing that's put me off, because the TV series has run for how long? I don't know if you've seen the TV series.
I think it's about 10 years. I think I watched maybe the first 8 seasons, I think it was. And then I lost track of it. And it changed cast over the years in the way that many shows do. But it ran for many, many years.
So do you think that you would get much more out of the Spooks film than I would? Because the fact that I've not seen a single episode, and it would just take a long time for me to get used to it, maybe?
I think I would benefit from having seen the TV show, because there was at least one character in it that was in the TV show all the way through. And I don't think you'd lose anything by not knowing who he is, but I'd be like, hey, it's him again. I haven't seen him since he was on TV. So I think I would benefit more. I don't think you need to rush off and watch it on the big screen. I think it'll be fine watching it when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray later on in the year.
Yeah, we'll get Andrew's thoughts on that hopefully on next week's show. He might be able to have, in the box office top 10, he'll probably have it'll be like an hour long, because he'll have reviews for every single film, hopefully.
He will. And Spooks will still be in the top 10 next week. So
Yeah, that should easily be in the top 10.
will number 1 still be the Avengers: Age of Ultron? I suspect it's
No.
probably not going to be. I think it's going to be number 2 next week. But this week
No.
it is number 1. Isn't it?
I don't think it'll be number 2 next week neither, because I'm hoping for
Really?
one of the... Yeah, the two
Oh
films
yeah,
that-
number 3. Number 3.
The two films that we're reviewing tonight, they'll be 1 and 2. If they follow the route of the US box office top 10, because that's the way it's actually happened. Over there, it's Pitch Perfect and then Mad Max. I'm hoping the other way around, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, I liked Avengers: Age of Ultron. I didn't love it, not as much as Avengers Assemble. I just thought that it was just too muddled. Joss Whedon was trying to throw too much at the screen and didn't have a proper coherence running through it. It's got the humour there. He relies too much on the humour. There is just very little story building in this one. And considering that it is going on to the two-parter, which is going to be tackled by the Russo brothers, you would have expected much more. It just feels like a bridging kind of film, and not a film where it is got the nuances and brilliance of Avengers Assemble.
So does it feel a bit like Iron Man 2 did, where it just felt like a really, really long trailer for the Avengers movies and stuff?
Yeah, Booger in the live chat there has just said Ultron felt like a filler movie. That's exactly how I feel of it. The thing with Iron Man 2 is you can easily cut that out of the series, and it would make the series, I think, stronger. Because Iron Man 2 does not feel like a filler movie. I think it feels like a misstep, a complete misstep, because it's a bad film. It's a really bad film, Iron Man 2. Even though I didn't very much like Iron Man 3, I was on the side of people who didn't like it that much. I did like it much more than Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 just had nothing in it. It was lacking absolutely everything. And so this one, it's a filler film. It feels more like a bridging of a gap to the two-parter that's coming up next year and the year after.
Okay. Yep.
Right, on to the cinema releases. So there are 2 films, Pitch Perfect 2 and Mad Max Fury Road, and I'm going to kick off with Mad Max Fury Road. Very simple storyline, like we were discussing before we started the show. This is a film where it's probably pointless explaining the story because it doesn't have very much of a story.
No, and that's not us having a go at it either. It's true.
Yeah, it's more of explosions, and explosions galore, and set pieces galore as well. 2 humongous set pieces. But it has some kind of story there, and it's directed by George Miller, who's been involved with the Mad Max series since the birth of it, and he's took a big hiatus from movies, and so he's come back to direct Mad Max Fury Road. And in the film, this time it stars Tom Hardy, who plays Max, and you've got Charlize Theron, who's more the forefront of the film rather than just Max, and she plays Furiosa. And she is sort of like the second in command to Immortan Joe, who is the leader of sort of like the paradise area of the wastelands. It's an area where they've got vegetation. It's an area where they've got water. However, he manipulates them because he's got the key to this water. And so he releases it whenever he wants to. And the people are really angry with this. And so, like, Furiosa realizes that. So she is sent out on a trip to go to one of the other rival gangs, and then she takes a detour. And Immortan Joe realizes this, and so sends out a party along with himself to chase Furiosa down. It's discovered, though, that Furiosa has a separate cargo on board, and with the help of Max, she needs to try and get this cargo to safety. Here's a clip giving you a feeling, one of the only clips we can play, because it's one of the only clips that actually has any respite in the movie where there is some talking.
How do you know this place even exists?
I was born there.
So why'd you leave?
I didn't. I was taken as a child. Stolen.
You done this before?
Many times. Now that I drive a war rig, this is the best shot I'll ever have.
And them?
They're looking for hope.
What about you?
Redemption.
And so Andrew in the live chat says, managed to see Mad Max Fury Road today, in a word, insanity. And Boogle really wants to see Mad Max. Now, we both have seen Mad Max, and a rare thing for you, isn't it, going to the cinema?
It is. Yep. It's first time. I think it's the first time this year, actually. It might be.
Yeah. Did you see it in 2D or 3D?
I watched it in 2D. 3D doesn't work for me. I bet that film is just bonkers in 3D, though.
Well, we're going to be able to cover both bases, because I saw it in 3D. I really want to see it in IMAX, but I've seen it in 3D, so you've seen it in 2D. I'll get your thoughts on it first. What did you feel of the film?
Well, I'm a massive fan of the original Mad Max films. 30 years ago, I watched Mad Max Thunderdome on the big screen, so as way back as then, I've loved the movies. I wasn't worried about it. I was a little bit, because this film's been delayed for years. If you look back, all the production issues and this, that, and the other. When Tom Hardy came on board, I thought I'm all right with that, because he's not let me down so far. My thoughts on the film: you got to watch it on the big screen. It's not often I'll say that about a film. That and Star Wars. If you get a chance to watch Mad Max on the biggest screen possible, like IMAX, you got to take it. It's really, really loud. The soundtrack's amazing. And as you touched upon, the action set pieces are just bonkers. I think you watch this, your eyes will fall out your head by the end of the 100 minutes or whatever. I mean, what was the running time in the film? I didn't look at my watch
about 2 hours, just over 2 hours.
Flew by.
You touched on a point with the action set pieces being absolutely insane, and the scope of the action set pieces as well, considering that predominantly the film is practical effects and not CGI. There is obviously CGI in the film, but a lot of the car chases and the explosions and the fight scenes are all practical effects, and well done for George Miller for doing that, because he could have gone down the route of just adding lots of CGI in here, but he didn't do that. The last film where I remember watching, and this is a bit of a weird comparison, where it was all practical effects, was Death Race. Like big action movie where you've got big explosions and huge massive vehicles getting blown up. Death Race, the scene where you've got that big juggernaut vehicle in it. It reminded me of the tankers in Mad Max, because they both got very similar statures. They're both huge and massive and hulking. And so when you see an explosion happen to them or they get flipped, it adds much more impact, a big massive thud, rather than a whimper where if it was done in CGI. So I congratulate it.
I'd heard the stories about, there's no CGI and it's all practical, and I came out of the film today thinking there was no way there was no CGI in that film. Looking into it, they have used CGI in the film, but apparently only to remove the stunt rigging, which is totally understandable. I'd be surprised if some of those people didn't have cables on them, to be honest. And they used it to enhance the background locations. But, according to the stories, all the car crashes and stuff were genuine, and I love when films do that. I could spot CGI a mile off, usually.
I think anybody can these days.
Yeah, you can.
It's a brave director who would just attempt practical effects in films, and so it's a smart director, in my opinion, especially when you're trying to make a movie that harkens back to the originals 30 years ago. You needed to have the same kind of beating heart as them, and they used practical effects back then because obviously CGI was just non-existent practically. And so they relied heavily on rigging and all of that kind of thing, and so I'm glad that he decided to do that. If you look at the downside parts of the film, obviously the story, which is very simple, you can let it be with that, because it's not a movie where it relies heavily on the story at all. The acting from a couple of the characters is a bit missed, but for the most part, I think Tom Hardy handles Max brilliantly, because he doesn't do a lot in the film, but when he does do stuff, it's more about his actions rather than his words, and that's what his character is like. Nicholas Hoult, who plays Nux in the movie, is sort of like, he's got an interesting character development with him. He's the character who grows the most in the movie. It's somebody who's got practically no soul into him, yet it fills up during the film itself. And I think Charlize Theron handles Furiosa with aplomb. Because there's a lot of uproar with the character in America that a lot of people who've gone to see the film are annoyed because the film centres around her character rather than Mad Max.
Isn't it? Do you not think that is like one of the most annoying? I mean, why is it every time a film comes out, somebody in America just goes ballistic and starts complaining? Max doesn't sit around and wait for a woman to protect him. So it's not like Max is being demasculine, whatever the word is, had his manhood sliced off or whatever. He's still holding his own and doing really, really well in the film. But a lot of people do seem to be upset that there's this strong woman character in it. But isn't there always? I mean, the last one, 30 years ago, Tina Turner was running an entire town with however many henchmen chasing Max through the desert. So, strong females in the Mad Max world, they're not new.
Yeah, and again, well done to George Miller for doing that. There's at this year's Cannes Film Festival, which is happening while we do the show, there's a lot of the female actresses who want more equality in movies, so want actresses to be treated pretty much the same as their acting counterparts and be given the same kind of wages and all that kind of stuff. And there are directors like George Miller which does that. Yet we have directors like Zack Snyder who exploits that. So with horrible movies like Sucker Punch. So that you need to actually treat them on equal foot. And America's get your foot out of your bottom. Because cinema is not going back to the 1950s and 60s where all women were supposedly good for was working in kitchens and cooking your tea. Yeah, that's not the case anymore. And so I loved the film. I needed to watch a film where it was all like big explosions, big action set pieces, which are just immense. Because after the two big, massive action set pieces, I did a big, massive sigh because I needed a breath. So you've got one straight from the start. The first 20 minutes is just one huge, massive action set piece. And I went, after it. And so you need that. But it's the kind of film that I wanted. And it's definitely in my top 5 of the year. Surprisingly, me seeing that about an action film.
Can I also say that anybody who hasn't seen the other Mad Max films, it doesn't matter. You don't need to have seen them. It'd be like just watching a Bond film, wouldn't it? As long as you know who Mad Max is, you're fine. But that kind of gets explained at the very beginning anyway with a little 30-second voiceover thing, which isn't a spoiler. But you don't need to have seen Mad Max Road Warrior, or Thunderdome at all.
Yeah, and the 3D is not bad.
Nice.
I saw it in 3D, and because the colour is, you've got a lot of bright colour with the desert scenes in the film. Yeah, it's not muted at all.
It's a beautiful looking film. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I definitely want to try and see it on the IMAX screen. I don't know if I'll be able to, but I would love to see it on IMAX. Right. Complete opposite movie.
Is it though? I mean, Mad Max had a strong female character in it. This next film has got strong women in it as well. So on to you, Steve.
Yeah, that's the only sort of kind of thing that you can get away with bringing Mad Max very close to Pitch Perfect 2. Yeah, but no, that's about it. But Pitch Perfect 2, this time it's directed by Elizabeth Banks. And it brings all the characters back from the first one, the Bellas, which is led by Becca, who became prominent in the first film. And in this one, she is part of now, but she wants to sort of like move on. And the film itself, it centres around the Bellas when they get stripped of their title after an incident that happens when they're at a show in front of the president, and Fatih Emi decides to expose something that she does not should not be exposed to the president. And so they get stripped of that, and they're told they cannot no longer compete. So they come up with an idea of competing in the World Series of a cappella groups. However, the Germans have been brought in, Das Sound Machine, have been brought in to take over from the Bellas on their tour throughout America. And the Bellas find out that they need to go up against Das Sound Machine. Here's a clip.
Bart and Bellas, you came here to see us? Is it because you are, what do the American kids say, jelly?
We are so not jelly.
We should really thank you for making this tour a reality. You know, with your bumbling ineptitude. We should send them something. Fruit basket?
Yum yum.
Or would you prefer mini muffins?
Okay, we didn't come here to start something with you guys. We just wanted to check you out before the Worlds, where we're gonna kick your ass.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. You are the kicker of ass?
Yeah.
You are so tiny. Like an elf. Or is it a fairy? Sprite. Wie heißt das Wort, das ich meine?
Troll.
That's it. You are like a troll.
You are physically flawless.
Thank you.
But it doesn't mean I like you.
We are not scared about the Worlds, because when the Bellas hit the stage, we are gonna blow minds.
With what? More of Flabby Abby's baby shoot?
That's not my name.
I don't know your name. Could be anything. Obese Denise, Inflexible Tina, Lazy Susan.
Mein Name ist Fat Amy, und I eat krauts like you for lunch.
Your team is like how do you say that? A heated mess. You know, a mess where heat is applied to it, so what once was a little messy is now even messier.
And so even though the Bellas have a feud against that sound machine, they've also got a feud within themselves. They have to try and go back to their old roots and build up their confidence again to try and battle against their enemies. Now, the thing with Pitch Perfect 2, when I went to see this, the screening that I went to see in was sold out, completely sold out. And a lot of people were enjoying themselves during the movie. I was probably one of the only people in the screening who didn't enjoy himself. Now, I quite liked the first Pitch Perfect. It's an entertaining enough movie, which sort of like feels like an old 70s, 80s films. And in a way, it felt like watching Grease. And I really like Grease. I think Grease is a really well-made film. And Pitch Perfect was an entertaining enough movie. You had the characters, Fat Amy, which didn't grate on you, and Rebel Wilson handled the character really well. And it was sort of like the rise of Becca, and so it was an entertaining film. The problem with Pitch Perfect 2 is pretty much the same stuff, but what they've gone and done is they've ran with the stuff that didn't work as well in the first film, or ran with the stuff that worked really well but just constantly done it, or constantly harped on about it. And so with the Fat Amy character, they made her a much more prominent character in this one, so she's always cracking dodgy gags throughout the film. The turmoil between the group is non-realistic. You don't believe there is a fight between them, and the film takes so long to stitch itself together. When it finally gets to the international competition, that's the last 10 minutes of the film, and that's what it's setting it up to be. Even that sound machine are major stereotypical characters. They are that you heard it in the clip there. So like very strong German accents, but making Americans look like they're weak, or any kind of people making look like they're weak, and the Germans go, yes, we are the best. It's been done a million times before and much better. Booger in the live chat says, who are the audience for this type of film? The people who watched the first one, who thought the first one was excellent. They'll get the most out of this movie. If you watched the first film and thought, it's not bad, you will just go, what was the point? Have you seen Pitch Perfect?
I've never even I haven't, no. It's one of those films I looked at and I thought, I have no interest in watching it. And yet, the amount of people that really like the first one, I probably will watch it at some point. Who knows when? Yeah,
it takes the annoyances of Pitch Perfect and turns it up to 11, which is it's not something you want to see. Teenagers, Booger, is probably the best audience for this, or females. Because it's a fully female rolled film. I think females will get much more out of this movie, whereas the boyfriends who they'll drag to see it, they'll just be bored. They'll go, I could be sitting next door watching Mad Max or watching Fast and Furious 7 again. And they'll think to themselves, I wish I actually just says, you go in there with your friends and I'll just go into here and watch this film on my own. Or sit out in the foyer and just play on my phone for 90 minutes. Because it sounds really bad, that, but honestly it's just... It's a sequel to a film that I quite like the first one, and it's just annoying when that happens. When they take the annoyances and dial them up to 11, or just run with gags that didn't work in the first place. So I would just say avoid it. Just watch the first one, enjoy the first one. Don't watch the second one, because it's not worth seeing. And unfortunately, that's the film that's probably going to be number one next week. Because look what it's done in America.
It's great. How's it doing over there, money-wise? Rather well,
$70 million opening weekend.
What was Max?
44 million.
Wow. Take into account the certificate difference, though. But I'd be very curious. I mean, don't be surprised if you see Mad Max's takings go up on the second week, because I've never seen a film, for a while anyway, where the word of mouth has been that good as it has been for Mad Max.
Yeah, the problem with Mad Max is it's a $150 million budget on Mad Max Fury Road, whereas Pitch Perfect has probably got a budget of around about 20-30 million, maybe 40 maximum, so it's probably made back its budget already in the US alone, and it's going to do really well here. It's going to do big guns in Australia because of the Fat Amy character. I think it's going to bomb. The only place where it's going to bomb is Germany, because they hate the Mickey taken out of them. So
yeah, they don't like it. No.
Mad Max, I hope this is the thing. I really hope that Mad Max and Pitch Perfect 2 aren't released the same week in Australia, because Mad Max is Australian director. It's Australian prominent kind of film. Pitch Perfect 2 has an Australian lead character in it as well. So I really hope that they don't get released around at the same time, because it's just a scrap between them.
It is.
Yeah,
interested
I want
to see who wins.
I want Mad Max to do better than Pitch Perfect 2, much better, because it deserves it.
Well, I do, because I want to see these other Mad Max films that are written. So I want them to come out, and in order for them to come out, this one needs to do quite well at the box office.
Yeah, and Andy's just said in the live chat, I was stood outside of a small cinema on Friday evening. The number of teen girls running into Pitch Perfect 2, presumably for it, was staggering, which is that sums up what the audience is for it. Girls, teenagers. It will be staggering. And like I said, the screening that I went to see it in was sold out. Whereas when I went to see Mad Max, there was about 13 of us. Yeah, that was on a Thursday night, so people don't go to the cinema on a Thursday much. But I would have hoped to have seen more than 13, 14 people in the screening of it.
Yeah, when I went to see Max this afternoon, it was a Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and there was maybe 25, 30 people in Mad Max, which isn't bad for that time on a Monday afternoon.
Yeah, much better than what was on. I wish I was actually at the cinema this afternoon rather than being stuck at work, but a lot of people hope for that.
Yeah.
Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. We'll play an advert for one of your shows that you do. And after that, we'll be back with the home release section.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look. But sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, now that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting and about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Right, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section of the show. Do you want to give a recap of what we're looking at?
We are going to look at Into the Woods, Foxcatcher, A Most Violent Year, and The Man with the Iron Fists 2.
Yep, and on top of that, TV Movie of the Week and Movie of the Week, which you can probably guess what my Movie of the Week is going to be.
I can indeed, yep.
Yeah, that might give you a little clue. And you're going to handle one of the reviews, aren't you?
I am indeed, yep.
So
I'm going to give it a go anyway. Obviously not as well as Andy does, but I shall give it a crack.
We'll look forward to that. But Blu-ray and DVD top 10 then.
Number 10, Benedict Cumberbatch stars in The Imitation Game.
So any film that, by the way, you've seen in the Blu-ray DVD top 10, by all means comment, because people will be sick of hearing what I thought of the film. So have you seen The Imitation Game?
I haven't, nope. And I should, 'cause it's British, but I've not watched it. I spend most of my time, the reason I don't comment on many of these top 10 ones, I spend most of my time watching small indie films that nobody's ever heard of yet, because they get really small releases.
Yeah.
So, there we go. But yeah, no, not seen the Imitation Game.
You need to remedy it, because it's Benedict Cumberbatch, brilliantly acted by Benedict Cumberbatch. It's about the cracking of the Enigma code, playing Alan Turing. Very, like I said, very well played by him.
How's Keira Knightley in the film?
She's really good. She doesn't annoy as much in the movie, because I find that Keira Knightley is a very annoying actress, and so she's actually really good. She's more reeled back, which is how Keira Knightley should be.
Good. Yeah. Number 9, a film you've just been talking about, sort of. Pitch Perfect, back in the charts. No surprise why it's back in the charts, because the second one's out.
Yeah, listen to the review of Pitch Perfect 2 that I've just done now, what I thought about Pitch Perfect. It saves me from going over it again.
It does. Number 8, Birdman. Michael Keaton, Edward Norton, Emma Stone. Really, really like the film. Last week we pretty much both decided the film was awesome, but it didn't really deserve Best Film.
Yeah, very well directed by Alexander Gonzalez Iñárritu. It's a very interesting director, like you said last week, apart from the movie Amores Perros, which has good moments to it. It's just there's part of that film which I don't like. I like Iñárritu's direction. He's a very intelligent director, and this film itself is a comment on, you might as well say, on Keaton's life, on how his career has gone. It is practically a mockumentary about him. And so I really liked it. I agree with you on the fact that it didn't deserve to win Best Picture at the Oscars.
No, even though it's a really, really good film, it's not really Best Picture sort of material, is it?
Yeah.
Number 7, we have Unbroken.
Yeah, it's directed by Angelina Jolie. It's her second film. Jack O'Connell stars in it. I think out of the 3 films that he made last year, I think this is probably his weakest. And then it would be 71, and then the brilliant Startup. But it's still really well acted from Jack O'Connell. I just didn't like the concentration camp stuff of the film. I thought that's where Jolie needed to take a bit of more control, and she needed to add a bit more grit to it. I was more interested in his character during the first 2/3, maybe half of the film, where he was stranded at sea, and where you see him become the fastest man on the planet. And so I was more interested in that stuff rather than the concentration camp stuff.
And I'm just realising 33 years ago I went to see the original film of this on the big screen, and now it's remade. I feel really old now. Annie, 2014, is number 6 in the charts.
Yeah, just wipe this out of your memory. Just watch the original, because this has got nothing in common with the original at all. Quvenzhané Wallis, who takes up the role as Annie, she was brilliant in a film called Beasts of the Southern Wild, and she was nominated for an Oscar for her role in Beasts of the Southern Wild, and she deserved that. In this one, it's just not very good at all. She doesn't have a very strong singing voice, which is a bit of a problem considering that Annie, if in the original one, she's got a fantastic singing voice, and there is a song in the original where it does bring you to tears, sort of like when you watched Oliver. And so, yeah, you need a strong singing voice on the lead actress in the movie. Cameron Diaz is miscast. Jamie Foxx is just a really bad character in a way. It's just not a very good film at all.
Unlike number 5, I'm guessing, Paddington, which originally featured Colin Firth, but now is it Ben Whishaw that does the voice of Paddington?
Yeah. I'm glad that they went with Ben Whishaw. I'm glad that they went with
Colin
Ben Whishaw.
Firth.
I know, but Colin Firth, I don't think he would have brought sort of like the childlike character to Paddington, because Ben Wishaw's got that kind of voice. He doesn't have an aggressive tone to his voice. He's got a very soft, focused tone to his voice, and that's what Paddington is like. It's more mischievous that way, because he's sort of like, he's gone from Peru with the incident that happened in Peru to England, where he's now part of a family, and he's very much like a child rather than sort of like a much more grown-up kind of character that he was in Peru. And so you need somebody to emphasise the childlike characterness of him. And I think Ben Whishaw does that brilliantly. It's a very entertaining film. It's the kind of film where you'll gladly put on at Christmas alongside something like Home Alone, because I think they'll make a really good double bill. And Booga really liked the film. So,
I'd still like to have heard Ray Winston doing the voice of Paddington, but that would be a whole totally different movie.
That would have been an 18-rated film, and the word lag with a capital S would have been said too many times.
It would indeed, yep. Number 4, we have something that you generally don't cover on your Monday Movie Show, but it's in the charts, so we have to mention it. It is the complete season 1 of the remake of Paul Dark.
Pass. I haven't a clue.
I saw the original one, like way back, and it was an alright series, had low production value, so it is quite good that they remade it, but I didn't bother watching the remake. I've got too much stuff to watch as it is without watching the same story remade again. So number 3, Ridley Scott, Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Boring film. Really boring film. I'd stick by my comment last week. Joel Edgerton in the film reminds me too much of Boy George from Culture Club. It might as well have just bursted out on into song, because that's what I was expecting. The CGI is bad. The whole film itself is just bad. It's one of Ridley Scott's worst films in the last 10 years, easily.
Wow. Well, maybe in the extended cut we get at some point, because Ridley does tend to put out extended cuts. We might actually get a Karma Chameleon rendition. Who knows?
No, there's loads of like frogs and newts and stuff like that, so we might get a Karma Chameleon.
It is possible, yeah. Another film that's going to get extended later on in the year, I'm hearing around the summertime, is A Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah, which I'm sort of like glad it's over now, because it's a film series that should have been a double build rather than a trilogy. It just lost its way, I felt. It's like halfway through the first Hobbit movie, and then it never regained its ground. It does not have the heart of the Lord of the Rings trilogy at all, because this is sort of like a director who's gone in the opposite direction of somebody who used practical effects, a lot of practical effects, is heavily relying on CGI, and so it just doesn't work. The best thing about
it compares to the Star Wars prequels, doesn't it? You watch the original trilogy and it's model work and they're fantastic and everybody loves them, and then years down the line the film should be better technology wise and effects wise, but you got the prequels, so not good.
The best thing about it is just seeing Gollum / Smeagol again in the first one. That's it. That's the only thing that sticks into my mind. Seeing Gollum again. The rest of the movie is completely forgettable. The rest of the trilogy is completely forgettable. And finally, I think Peter Jackson can put the Hobbit / Lord of the Rings series to bed and attempt something different, attempt something new. I want him to go back to his grunginess. I want him to go back, even though it didn't do very well at the box office. I really loved The Frighteners. I think The Frighteners is a very interesting cult classic. I want him to go back to something like that.
Yeah, I do. I saw The Frighteners on the big screen, so I was one of those that paid money to watch a really, really good film.
Because we're not going to get another Brain Dead from him at all. Even though I hope, for hope's sakes, that we do get Brain Dead, another one from him or something like that. But yeah, I think more likely with The Frighteners, but I don't know what he's going to do next.
Meet the Feebles 2, that's what you're hoping for?
Yeah.
No. Number 1, we have the Eddie Redmayne film, The Theory of Everything, about the life of Stephen Hawking.
And I'm guessing you've not seen this one either.
Nope, I tried to watch that one for last week and ended up watching, what was it, We Are Monster. Ended up watching it instead.
Yeah, so the top 10 is bookended by 2 big British films, which you have a British show and you've yet to see. Yes. Shame on you.
Yes. Pretty much shame on me. I've got like 2 steps behind where I should be watching films. I just constantly keep trying to catch up, but kind of fail miserably. I blame the horror show because I have to watch so many horror films. So
no, still shame on you. Just shame on you, because The Theory of Everything and The Imitation Game are 2 films that needs to be seen because of the acting. In this one, in The Theory of Everything, it's Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawking. And when Stephen Hawking got motor neuron disease, and slowly you see it through his life and how much it affected him, but not just him, his wife as well, and children. And it's brilliantly played by Eddie Redmayne. It's a very interesting story. It doesn't try to constantly latch onto your heartstrings, because it's got some humour into it. And that's what Stephen Hawking is like. He's not bothered about the sympathy. He's more bothered about the humour. And he's got a really good, witty sense of humour to him. And so the film portraits both sides of his life. And I think Eddie Redmayne deserved the praise that he got. And so you need to
unlike his acting skills in Jupiter.
Oh, God. Yeah, that film is out on Blu-ray and DVD soon. But yeah... That film is a really hard watch because as in the Wachowski's gone on to do TV now for Netflix with Sense8.
Yeah, they have.
That's a weird title
Something
for
like that,
something, isn't it? SENS8. So Sense8. Which is an interesting thing for the Wachowskis to do because now they probably realise that they're not going to get a big budget to do a film anymore. Because studios are sick of giving them like $100 million budgets and them failing. So...
They used all their credit out with the first Matrix, didn't they, really?
Yeah, because you look at Cloud Atlas and that bombed at the box office. That was $150 million budget on that. And Jupiter Ascending, that majorly bombed at the box office. So that was near $100 million. Yes, Speed Racer as well.
Wow.
One-trick ponies they are.
They are indeed, yep.
Right, home releases. New releases in the home release section. That didn't make sense. Can I rewind and go back to the start of that again?
Of course
Instead,
you got and play. Yeah.
Into the Woods, directed by Rob Marshall, based on the stage play of the same name. In this case, it's got Anna Kendrick in it, who plays Cinderella. She's cropping up for the second time on this week's show. And you've got Daniel Huddleston, who plays Jack, and James Corden, who plays the baker, Emily Blunt, who plays the baker's wife. And it centres around, it's actually a twist on the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, in a sort of like a musical kind of format. So that's what the stage player is like, and taking the tales of things like Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood and Jack and the Beanstalk and things like that. And it centres around a baker and his wife who's been told... It's actually the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, who's been told to... they need a few things to get together to end a curse, and they bump into Jack, they try to persuade to get a cow off them, sell them for beans, and all that kind of thing. So if you know the stories of things like Red Riding Hood and Jack and the Beanstalk, you just need to remember them for Into the Woods. Here's a clip giving you a feel of what the film's like.
You must get back to the castle at once. There is a giant on the loose.
I'm well aware of that.
My love, what is it?
Maybe I'm not your only love.
I love you, truly. I do.
Yes, you love me. Why did you stray?
I thought that if you were mine, I would never wish for more.
If this is how you behave as a prince, what kind of king will you be?
I was raised to be charming, not sincere.
I think you should go.
Is that what you really wish?
My father's house was a nightmare. Your house a dream. Now I want something in between.
Now, in the live chat, Booger's hit the nail on the head with a comment that he's just made there. The opening song lasts for what seems like hours. Yes, it does. It seems like it lasts for way too long, and that's what the film is like. The film is not entertaining at all. It might work on the stage, but taking a stage play and turning it into a feature-length film is not a really easy thing to do. And unfortunately, Rob Marshall has not been able to do that. Because the film itself has got multiple story strands. And so, like I said, you've got Little Red Riding Hood, you've got Rapunzel, you've got Jack and the Beanstalk. And it tries to meld each one of those strands together. Unfortunately, not successful at all. Because you need you just need something there to entertain. And there is nothing to entertain at all in the film. It's just the musical numbers are not very well handled. The story is just badly structured together. When you think that the film is ended, you've got another 25 minutes left. And so it has a false ending, which does not make sense the last 25 minutes because of the way the movie ends and then ends again. It's not very well acted, apart from Meryl Streep, who takes on the form of the witch in the movie, and she loves that kind of role where she can just play a character who is very silly, and she does that really well. However, on the opposite side of it, you've got Johnny Depp, who plays the wolf, who's god-awful. It feels like he's just stepped off the set of Pirates of the Caribbean for half an hour and played Jack Sparrow as a wolf.
Probably did.
Yeah, because I think he was filming the next Pirates of the Caribbean one, and then he just decided to do that as a favour for Rob Marshall, who did Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. So he just said, why not? I'll step in for half an hour. I'll be the wolf, and then just do something which is pretty inappropriate for the film, and then I'll go back and be Jack Sparrow again.
Ouch!
It's just.
Do you not miss? Do you not miss? Do you not miss the actual Johnny Depp acting roles rather than just his costume things? I do.
To be honest, I don't even think that exists. I think Johnny Depp has been coasting throughout his career. No offence to him, because I love him in things like Edward Scissorhands. He's just brilliant in that film. But I think he's an actor who thinks that he can coast through all of his movies. And it's not just been the last few years. It's just, I think it's his career that sums him up. Because even though he's a big name, he's not a good actor. So,
no, I mean, there are things like Donnie Brasco and Blow, but I suppose in any actor's filmography, you can pick out half a dozen really good films.
Yeah, Booger in the live chat's just said Mordecai was funny. Now, Andrew's seen Mordecai, I've not seen it. So I can't comment on that, but I don't think Andrew actually liked Mordecai. I'll be seeing it when it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD, so I'm not looking forward to that. But it's just an actor who I don't hold high regard with. I don't hold him in the pantheons of actors like Jake Gyllenhaal, who I think is a brilliant actor. Tom Hardy as well, who's also a brilliant actor. Johnny Depp is just an overpaid actor.
Are you telling me that Johnny Depp in a Mad Max movie doesn't make you think, you know what, I'd watch that?
No, it just makes me think, why would I watch that? I definitely don't want to watch that, because he would spoil it. Because he'll want to speak. That's the problem. He would want to do his witty, wisecracking remarks. He's very much like Russell Brand, who gets on my nerves as well. So he'll just want to do wisecracking stuff when you don't want that. So, no thanks. But Into the Woods, pointless. Completely pointless film. Didn't like it at all. Right. I'm going to throw it over to you so I can take a little break for a moment, give my voice a little rest, so you can do a most violent year.
I can indeed do a most violent year. This is a film I was really, really excited about, because I love these sort of, and there's a few of them nowadays, where they're period pieces, but they're not set way back when. They're set in like the 70s or the 80s, and our most violent year is set in New York, 1981. To me, that is the New York that is the most exciting and cinematic, because it was still dirty and smoke coming out of all the vents, and it was still had that sort of Hell's Kitchen type appeal to it. Awesome cast list: Oscar Isaac, Jessica Chastain, to name a few. The film, I found it really, really slow, to the point I've only made it to about 40 minutes of the thing. And I started watching this maybe about a week ago, and then got sidelined. And then I was sitting watching the DVD of it, because we were fortunate enough to get one a little bit early. And we both agreed that it was really, really slow. It's basically a crime family type film. So think sort of Sopranos, but even slower than The Sopranos. So, well, I mean, Stu, you've seen all of this film, haven't you? Does it get any faster paced, or is it really slow for the entire movie?
Well, just to give people an indication of what the film is like, I've got a clip here which gives you the sort of like, it gives you a tone of what the movie is like. So I'll play that clip and my thoughts after it.
What is it about this property that makes you feel it's so integral that you can't put it off until after all these legal matters are settled?
It's a very good question. This property gives us many things. First, access to the river, so I can bring in my fuel directly from any provider in the world straight to my tanks. Second, it has over 10 million gallons of storage capacity, so I can buy in the summers when the price is low and sell to my customers and, more importantly, my competitors when the price is high. I will no longer just drive trucks. I will control my fate. But the real answer to your question is that when it feels scary to jump, Ian, that is exactly when you jump. Otherwise, you end up staying in the same place your whole life. And that I can't do.
And so, it's directed by J.C. Chandor, who's Andrew has just pointed out there in the live chat. And he was the director who did Margin Call and All Is Lost. I've yet to see All Is Lost. I really do want to see that film because I heard Robert Redford is fantastic in that movie. Margin Call, I really like. I think Margin Call is a very intelligent, interesting film. And I liked A Most Violent Year because it feels like a J.C. Chandor movie. He doesn't seem to change a lot with these films. It has a very slow pace to it, but that gives you a chance to latch on and with the characters, to build up something with the characters, because it does center around Oscar Isaac's character, who is an oil tycoon person, and things are happening to his oil trucks. The people who are driving them, and like you indicated there, The Most Violent Year in 1981, and he wants that to stop because he wants to try and run a legitimate business, but things are sort of like plotting against him for that to happen. You've got Jessica Chastain, who plays his wife as well, who there might be hiding secrets, but that's not the part that you care about. The part that you care about is somebody who's trying to make a legitimate business. And so I think the film, even though it has a very stoic flow to it, if you're a fan of Chandor's stuff like Margin Call, and from what I can gather, All Is Lost, then you're going to really like A Most Violent Year. So I think it is one of those films for people who like the director J.C. Chandor, rather than people who might have actually just come to his movies from this film. But I think I really like it.
I would warn people. I would say you really need to be in the mood for a slow-paced film. Don't go into it thinking you're going to watch Goodfellas or something like that.
Yeah, it's nothing like that. It's not one of these kind of films where you're going to see a lot of people getting shot and the kind of grittiness that you would see in the sort of like the Godfather kind of films, or like you mentioned there, Goodfellas or Heat or movies like that. It is a much more slower paced film, a much more character study of a movie. A film that doesn't overstay its welcome, even though the last 10-15 minutes of it sort of like pushes it a little bit. But it is still, I found an interesting film. Very well acted. I think the acting is very well handled. Jessica Chastain, she's, I think, the best actress on the circuit at the moment. Oscar Isaacs as well. He's a really good British actor. So he's in the new Star Wars movie. And he was in Ex Machina, which is very, very, very interesting character in Ex Machina, which again we'll be reviewing in a few weeks' time. Next up then, Foxcatcher. Now this is a sort of like drama heavy in a way. It's directed by Bennett Miller, and it stars the unrecognisable Steve Carell, who plays John DuPont, and Channing Tatum, who plays Mark Schultz. And it's set before the 1988 Seoul Olympic Games, and it centres around Mark Schultz's. People will have heard of his character. He was a wrestler, and he gets the opportunity to join John DuPont, who is this interesting coach. He has these very interesting methods of training up his wrestlers, to join him on his ranch, his camp, because Schultz is sort of like got a bad in his ways. He's always under the shadow of his brother, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, who plays David Schultz. And so, he's a bit lacking in his ways, and so he needs his confidence built up. So he gets the help from John DuPont, but nefarious means and ways, the way DuPont treats the people who he's training, that's what the film is about. It's an interesting way of how he does that. Here's a clip which gives you sort of like a feel of what their relationship is like.
Mark, you have been living in your brother's shadow your entire life. It's time. It's your time now.
I know what you mean.
Do you?
Because everything that I've done, I feel like has somehow been credited to Dave. And, I feel that it's time for me to distance myself from him. Become my own person.
And so the film itself, it needs tension, and it has it in bucket loads thanks to Steve Carell. When Carell decides to back away from the nonsensical sort of like humour that he does, nonsensical humour that he does, it's brilliant. Whereas he can show how much of a good actor he is. It's not like Jim Carrey in a way. When Jim Carrey steps away from the comedy and tries drama, he shows that he is a force to be reckoned with, and that's the same with Steve Carell. And he plays John DuPont with an eeriness to him. It is a very, as I've just said to Stuart just there, very much like the child catcher, and he brings that malevolence to him. Channing Tatum, his character is a very nuanced one. You can see that there's something building up inside of him, ready to explode, and I think he handles his character really well. The same with Mark Ruffalo. The female parts of the movie isn't handled as well, because you've got Sienna Miller, who plays Schultz's wife, and you've also got Vanessa Redgrave, who plays John DuPont's mother. And so they've got a very creepy, psycho kind of mother-son relationship there, and I was expecting to see like a skeleton in a chair or something like that, but that's not the case with this. Or John DuPont doing the voice of his mother, it's Vanessa Redgrave. But the female characters are slightly underwritten. It's the male characters. It's a very male-centric movie, and you would expect that, considering that it does centre around wrestling, which is a very male-centric thing, especially in the Soul games. And so I really like the film. It's definitely well worth the watch because of the acting and how scary Steve Carell is in it. Have you got any interest in seeing this?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was actually engrossed in listening to your thoughts on Foxcatcher. For me, I was put off by the makeup when I originally saw some of the clips. But the more I hear about it, including comments from yourself, it's kind of like, forget the makeup, storyline. Go for the storyline. So I'm definitely going to check it out.
Yeah, just forget the makeup, forget all of that kind of stuff. Like you've said to me, you've got a lot of films to catch up on, but this should be a movie that should be near to the top of your list. Even though
should.
It
needs to be Fox. It needs to be Foxcatcher, Imitation Game, and A Theory of Everything. Three really, really big films that I should watch.
Watch those three films and then get back to your horror movies or the smaller films that you get sent to write quick reviews on. Just tell the people who keep on sending you screeners just to calm down for a couple of days while you catch up slightly, and then you can catch up on the horror stuff and things like that. After that.
Yeah, I need a big chart somewhere where I could just write all these films down. And I actually have a piece of paper that has the dates films are coming out and when I need to watch them by. So it does get like a bit of a science project sometimes.
Yeah. Well, at least you should be glad that this next film and the final film of the week should not be on your list. It's The Man with the Iron Fist 2. Now, RZA, or RZA, who's part of the Wu-Tang Clan, brought the first Man with Iron Fists to the big screen a couple of years ago because it was part of the Wu-Tang Clan. They created the Iron Fist tournament. They originally released it in a game called Wu-Tang Taste the Pain, or Feel the Pain, depending on where you're from. And so RZA decided to develop the characters and create a film around it. And so it had the backing of like Quentin Tarantino, and so like people backed the movie. And so on this one, it's just getting released direct to DVD, and it sort of follows RZA's character again of Thaddeus, as the Man with the Iron Fist, but you don't properly get to see him that much until about half an hour into the movie. What it does follow, it centres around a small little mining village who was being overrun by this malevolent overlord who makes them work in the mines and threatens them with death, makes them fight each other, yet the miners want their freedom. Very much like Braveheart, but nowhere near as good as Braveheart. And they want their overlord, the evil overlord, to be overthrown. And they need the help with the Man with the Iron Fists in Thaddeus. No clip. Pointless playing a clip for an absolutely turgid, torrid, horrible mess of a movie. Now,
is this a Quentin Tarantino Presents one again, or is he just jumped ship and he's not even bothering with this one?
He just hasn't even bothered with this one. I don't even think, even if he was sent a screener of the movie, he would have thrown it into away. Because the first one was bad, but it had a few little bits and bobs in it which were sort of like forgivable. It knew that it was like a video game, and it treated itself like a video game. This one tries to treat itself serious, and it fails on every single, and I mean absolutely every single level. There isn't a redeeming feature of this movie. I was trying to think of something that's redeeming, and the only thing I got close with, there's a scene where one of the bad guys gets an arrow shot at him and he explodes. It's probably the best thing about the movie because there was a bit of standard gore in it. The rest of the gore is CGI. Now, the acting is horrible. The storyline makes absolutely no sense, and when it does, you're just thinking to yourself, why bother? The martial arts is atrociously choreographed. Because in a film that relies heavily on martial arts, you would expect them to have a good flow to them. But the fight scenes look like they've come from a Morph program. So Morph was like a Tony Hawk sort of like plasticine thing. And so they might as well have just been plasticine because it would have been much more interesting. The blood, like I've indicated there, is CGI, which is unforgivable in a horror movie. Horror movies should never use CGI. Any action film should never use CGI when it comes to blood. There is a simple thing you can use. Just use corn syrup or something like that. Even if you use raspberry jam, it would be it look much more like blood rather than CGI. So I'm guessing most of the budget was ate up using the blood CGI. So everything about the film is just terrible. It's rotten to the core. And when you do actually manage to get down to the core, there's a little worm who's just sitting there mooning you. It's just having a giggle. It's just mooning you and then turning around and they're just laughing in your face going, why did you bother watching the film? It's like with Mad Max. Mad Max is going to be in my top 5 films of the year. This is going to be in my opposite scale. This is going to be in my top 5 worst films of the year. Because, as I said to you, I score my movies just to help me out at the end of the year stuff. Mad Max got an 8. This got a 2.
Now, where was the first one? Did you like the first Man in the Iron Fists?
I think I gave that like a 4. Okay. 4, because there was a couple of scenes in it where it was fun, and it realised what the kind of film that it was. This one just tries to play itself too seriously, and it doesn't work as a camp movie neither. It's just terrible on every single... You know, when you do see these direct-to-DVDs sequels, and you think to yourself, I wonder why this was released direct-to-DVD, you can definitely see why with The Man with the Iron Fist 2. This is a movie that should have gone direct-to-Crackle.
Yeah, direct-to-torrent.
Yeah, direct-to-torrent. And I think people would have still demanded their money back if it went direct-to-torrent. So it is really that bad. Right, that's it for the new releases this week.
Okay.
Do you... I don't think you would have, but any chance you've got any TV movies of the week? Any TV stuff that you're looking forward to this week?
Oh, there was something on Film 4, and I've forgotten what it was, because Annette has this ritual where she gets a new TV magazine on a Saturday, reads all the films out, and then we work. There was at least 2 that were on about 1 in the morning. Wasn't Margin Call on at one point this week, which I've still never seen, and I really want to watch that film because it's apparently awesome.
Well, if it is on, you've got to watch that film.
Yeah. What have you chosen?
I've chosen 2. The first one is on Sunday the 24th. Of this month of May at 9 o'clock on the Horror Channel, because the Horror Channel is now available on Freeview, so I can choose that whenever there's a film that interests me. And it's based on a Stephen King movie, and it's directed by Frank Darabont, and it has one of the most depressing endings ever created in the film, The Mist.
Yes. My friend and his wife fell out with me for a little bit for that, because the ending they did not see coming, and it kind of depressed them.
I really like The Mist. I think it's a very well... I don't normally like these movies where there's a character in it which is heavily religious and tries to manipulate people. I don't like movies like that, yet I hated her character in the film. I really despised her character in the movie, and that's the whole point. And I think Frank Darabont is a brilliant director, and when he directs Stephen King stuff, he gets the best out of it. And The Mist is a fantastic film. I loved The Mist. So that's on the Horror Channel, 9 o'clock on Sunday the 24th. And now, the other film is a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm only mentioning it because it is a guilty pleasure of mine. I've seen it a few times, and people can't believe that it's a film that I do quite like. It's on Film 4 on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So that's Saturday the 23rd at 1 o'clock. It's a Whoopi Goldberg movie.
Okay.
It is Sister Act.
Oh, really? You like that one?
I really like Sister Act. I've seen it about 15 times. Now it's a film that my mum was obsessed with. She loved Sister Act, and she used to practically watch it once a month. And so she knew the songs off by heart. Unfortunately, so do I. But I like Whoopi Goldberg movies because I just love Whoopi Goldberg. I think she has just, no matter what she's in, she has that thing where you just can't help yourself but to watch it. Like Jumping Jack Flash. Movies like that.
I was just going to mention that. I was just going to mention Jumping Jack Flash. Yep.
Yeah, she just has that thing where you just can't... I think, even though she only had a small part in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, I think she was one of the best things about that film. But she just has that... She has a mesmerising thing where you can't help but watch it. It's just, must watch it. Just brainwashes you. So, Sister Act, guilty pleasure. I'm surprised Andrew hasn't said, you're probably going to mention Spirited Away, because, yeah, it's getting repeated on Film 4 on the Sunday as well, in both forms, because they had a poll on their website, which Studio Ghibli film would you like to see in both forms? And so, in the afternoon, you get the English language version of Spirited Away, which is very well done. The dub is brilliant. And then very early on in the morning, so the Monday morning, around about 1 o'clock, you've got the subtitled version, which, again, you should definitely watch. Because any Studio Ghibli film, I'd say you should definitely watch.
Exactly. Especially Totoro.
Yes, I love Totoro. But that's for another week, because Andy will shout at me again for talking on about Studio Ghibli films. And that's it for this week's show.
Yeah, but Andy's not here, so he can, he can do nothing about the Ghibli love.
Yeah, let's extend the show by another hour and a half and talk about Studio Ghibli movies. Yeah, not going to happen.
No.
Because we're just going to end the show there. 91 minutes is a perfectly round, nice number to end the show on. So that's it for this week's show. Do you have a movie of the week out of the films that you've seen?
I have a movie. It's Mad Max. It has to be Mad Max. Even if I've seen 100 movies, it would still be Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, of course it's Mad Max Fury Road. That's my movie of the week as well. Brilliantly entertaining film. Go and see it. Make sure it's at least in the top 3. If this film is not in the top 3, I'm going to be really annoyed. Because it definitely deserves that. But I think I've got a feeling that it's going to get the same treatment as Dread. And I hope that's not going to be the case. So, like I said, that's it for this week's show. Make sure you check out the website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can get us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole. And Stuart, you're at From Page 2, number 2, screen.
Yes.
So, taking away a bit of your limelight there. Your website is FromPage2Screen.com, isn't it?
It is indeed, yep.
And my guess, Facebook is Facebook.com/FromPage2Screen.
Yep, YouTube is youtube.com/FromPageToScreen. It's just a bunch of trailers and film clips and stuff up there, but fingers crossed, fundraiser goes well. I'm going to start to do a lot more video content on that channel.
Podcast-wise, you're on iTunes, you're on Stitcher, you're on any Android podcast feed, because I found out once you're actually on one Android podcast feed, you're on all of them.
Yay!
So, because that's the best thing about Android, it gets all of the podcast feeds from everywhere, and so you only need to be on one thing. So even if you're on iTunes, from what I gather, you automatically get put on Android. So if people using an Android device, you'll be able to listen to your show and my show as well. So spread the love on that.
And our show as well. So yeah, part of the shared universe.
The horror show is, so check all of that stuff out. You can email the show, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com, and get me on Twitter at Cryptic Tadpole. And if you feel like it, Andrew, even though he's been in the live chat throughout tonight's show, he's at AHDVD. So we're going to play you out with a clip. Again, thank you, Stuart, for filling in Andrew's shoes. They're probably a bit sweaty, aren't they?
Again. Andy, you've got to come back, because that way Stuart doesn't have to panic about the gaps in silence where he's expecting me to jump in and I forget.
Yeah, or I don't have to panic and seeing every single film released in the week, so I have absolutely no time to do anything else apart from work and watch films. I know that sounds like a joy, the watch films part, but it can get a bit grating when you just want to sit down and watch the latest episode of Penny Dreadful or something like that. So, yeah. Hopefully Andrew will be back next week. You can check out details on the website from around about Thursday about what to expect on next week's show. 2 of the big films released next week. Poltergeist, which we're both eager to see, aren't we?
We are. They're here. Yep.
Yeah, to see how the movie's actually handled. And the clip, which I'm going to play you out on tonight's show, is for a movie that's directed by Brad Bird, who is really hard at work on The Incredibles 2. Thank God for doing that. He was also involved with the brilliant Iron Giant and also The Simpsons, which is where he cut his teeth at. This is the latest film starring George Clooney. And from the camp at Disney, it's Tomorrowland. And so that's out on Friday, and we'll have a review for it on next week's show. And until next week, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Newton?
That's not mine.
What's not yours?
The pen. I've never...
No way.
I am very upset with you.
I get it. You're angry. I understand. But have you ever seen this before? Does it look weird? Don't touch it!
Why are you yelling at me?
Not while you're driving, Dad. It's dangerous. Just pull over. Okay.
I swear to God, Case, if you're on drugs...
I'm not on drugs. All will be explained as soon as you touch this pen. What is... It's not working? You're not seeing this?
Casey, stop it!